In this final video of Module 9, we go into the three last points of this presentation: the unit prices for infrastructure, the ratios, and the intermediate task. So first of all, we have calculated in the previous part on the building cost. We have calculated based on the unit prices for each of the elements. We calculated the cost at building level and could hence identify the contribution of these different elements to the final cost of the building. What we do in this part is we add some more costs. So first of all, we add the cost for the land. So we assume a price of 400 euros per square meter of land, and we include a cost for the infrastructure. So first of all, the infrastructure for the road, which is parallel to the width of our streets, and the one which is shorter, typically parallel to the depth of our streets. And the land use of these streets are included. Now, these prices are very site-specific, both the land use cost as the building cost. So what we do here is we fix these prices in order to be able to compare the influence of the layout differences and the density differences to the final cost differences without changing the unit prices. Otherwise, it becomes really difficult to identify the reasons for the cost differences. In your paper, once everybody has finished the calculations, I will provide you also with a graph showing the average costs of the building and the neighborhood of the full group, so that you can compare your own dwelling, your own cost assessment with these group averages. Now, if you in a second step in your assessment want to vary these unit costs, that is allowed. So if you, first of all, you make a comparison with the same unit cost to highlight the influence of the design and the layout decisions on the cost. If you in a second step want to calculate the cost of your building with the real costs of your specific context, that is allowed, but in a second step. And then you need to gather the costs for your specific context individually. Then, to calculate the cost of the infrastructure, we need to calculate the different ratios at neighborhood level in a similar way as we did at the building level. So the aim is to add to our costs at building level the cost for infrastructure and land. And by doing that, we will gain insight of the contribution of these various parts of our neighborhood to the total neighborhood development or cost of the building in general. So if we look at the table, this part in gray is what you already did before. So we had the unit price, you calculated the ratio based on the multiplying the price per unit and the ratio, you had the price per square meter floor, and then by multiplying with the amount of floor, you can calculate the price of a certain element in your building. What we do now is calculate the ratio of residential land, the ratio of the road parallel to the width of our plots, and the ratio of the roads parallel to the depth of our plots. And including these these costs, by multiplying the ratio with the unit cost, we can also include these in the table. So this is what we additionally do. We calculate, first of all, the amount of residential land by per square meter floor. So now we need to know how much land do we need to buy to provide the amount of square floors that we have built. So what we do to define this ratio is calculate the ratio of the residential land area and divide that by the floor area of one building, the total floor area, so not only the ground floor, but all levels, multiplied with the number of buildings in our residential land, so it's the number of buildings for each row, for each street, and we have 4 streets, so we multiply by 4. So by doing that, we know how much land we need to buy to build this whole area, this whole neighborhood, and we divide it, we attribute it, we allocate it to the different buildings, more specifically to the floor area in each building. So per square meter floor area in the building, we need an amount of land. The same for the second one, but so it's the same nominator. So here we again divide by the floor area of one building multiplied with the number of buildings per row and multiplied with 4 streets. But here we have a different number on top. We have the length of the road. It's in meter. The price is in meters, so not in square meter. So it's the length of the road which is parallel to the width of our plots. And the last one is the length of the road parallel to the depth of our plot. So it's again a unit price per meter, so we need a ratio in meter per square meter floor area. These are the three ratios, and by these three ratios, you multiply again to calculate the price per square meter floor, and you can calculate the full price by calculating this price by multiplying this price per square meter floor by the number of floors you have in your building, and then you have the total. So if I go a little bit back to clear it, you can calculate the total price of your building, including the infrastructure and the land cost, and then you can calculate the percentage contribution by dividing your specific cost of a certain part, of a certain element, by the full cost, the total cost. You can also see the impact of including the infrastructure by calculating the price per square meter floor excluding the infrastructure and including the infrastructure, just to see the effect of the infrastructure. So that's why we have here the two green cells.